It was just a summer day. My oldest son, come in and he was like, "Mom, do you want to go outside and ride the bike?" He had a little bike. He was still on training wheels. And I remember I was really dope sick that day. And I really felt like crap. I was going through withdrawals. And he looked at me, and I'll never forget. He was like, and I was like, "Bob, not right now." And he was like, "Oh, Mom, you don't feel good today. Are you sick?" And he was like, "It's okay."
Hey, what's going on, guys? Back on Recovery Works. Today we have an amazing client with us. She's been with us for 5 years. She's doing an absolutely incredible job. She's a role model to new patients and groups. She's a leader, and she wanted to come on and share her story, and we're very happy to welcome. Go ahead.
Stephanie Thurman.
Stephanie Thurman. Awesome. So, Stephanie, why don't you tell us, kind of your journey from starting where you were introduced to opioids and kind of the journey to recovery, and could you just start with how you were introduced?
Well, I was started when I was actually about 15.
15.
I used to get migraines really bad, and I actually had just lost my dad as well, so they thought maybe that kind of triggered some of them. I went to a doctor with my mom, and it was actually in Ashland, Kentucky, so it wasn't even in Ohio.
Yeah.
We went, and they had done some tests. I'm not really sure what all the outcome was, but I got a prescription for some pain medication.
Sure.
And I didn't really know what it was. I was 15, I was young. But I got back home. A couple days later, some friends came over, and I'd asked what was going on, and I was like, "Yeah, I got this medicine," and it was like, "Hold up, like, hey, do you know you can snort those?" And so I was kind of like, "Oh no, I didn't," and then I was like, "Okay, let's try it." I was young, and
Of course.
I wanted to, I wanted to see what it was that they were talking about, explaining, and it was a choice that I would not know how later on I would regret. And like I said, that wasn't even, that was just like a sample.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was already kind of smoking marijuana off and on. I was raised up around it.
Of course, yeah.
So it's...
And peer pressure being so big at 15.
Right, and I was going through a lot. I just lost my dad. So I didn't know it then, but I was missing something, and so I was real close with my dad.
Sure.
And so I ended up getting married. I got married at 16.
Wow, awesome.
I had made a lot of choices that probably weren't the best for me to, and that I shouldn't have been making for myself at that time. My mom, she really tried to talk me out of it. She did try, and she also believed in tough love.
Sure.
And that is hard. It's hard on both ends, receiving and giving. And I know that now, but so we went back and forth. She was like, "Okay, fine. You want to get married. This is it. Like, you do this. This is done." So we did it, and she supported. She was there. She's but I thought I was living a fairy tale. I thought I was getting this adult life that I always thought I wanted, and it wasn't. It ended up, I was taking on a lot.
Of course.
So I was sampling with the pain pills.
Real quick to touch on, because I've heard many times, and as you shared, going through that a lot, it kind of, your father passing away, that kind of allowed the opioids to come in and fulfill like that pain, that trauma, that can you speak to how that drug can kind of comfort the person. It can take away pain. It can make that person temporarily feel like the pain is not there.
Right. It was almost like I could forget. It was like I wasn't even, I didn't just bury, my dad or,
Wow.
like, it was on, and then it was kind of like that feeling that you have in that moment, like nothing really matters, like you don't have a conscience.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't have a conscience. I didn't care that I had a mom at home worried about finding her daughter.
Of course.
And like I said, I really didn't even know that I was doing it. I thought everybody else had the problem.
Sure.
That I wasn't doing anything that nobody else was doing.
Of course, 100%.
And then eventually I had masked it for so long, like it was kind of like, did I have time to process all that?
Sure,
Did I really experience it? So I got married, had this slight addiction, but it was more, it was like a come and go thing, but we had a house full of people every night, like just a party house.
Oh, wow.
So eventually it became other things because people bring different things. It's like a buffet.
Yeah.
Before you know it, I was doing cocaine.
Yeah.
And that's a part that I really don't, I look back and I'm like, I can't believe that I was doing that. I was down to like 80 pounds.
Wow.
Like my mom has a picture she took of me, and
Wow.
just skin, just bones.
Oh my goodness.
But I didn't see this. I didn't see it. Again, like I said, everybody else had the problem. It was.
A lot of people can say that drugs, they blind you to the real life, and like you said, you feel like you don't feel. So the problems that are manifesting, they're almost not, they don't register almost because of the drugs. Can you speak to that at all?
When we were having all these people around and the excitement. Just kind of, like the life of the party.
Yeah, wow.
And the energy that you get, and then you feed off other people's energy.
Of course.
I definitely think that it takes your emotions, and it can spin a person. I say it takes some of the best people and can change them into people you don't even know.
Oh, 100%.
And like I say, like my conscience was gone. Like I said, I didn't care.
Yeah.
That I was hurting people, and tearing my family apart.
Of course.
I eventually had my own child that I brought in, and that still wasn't enough to fix me.
Wow.
At that time. It didn't matter. Like I said, I kept taking drugs to push all that away, to hide it.
Of course.
I was burying my feelings and my issues.
Yeah.
That I really needed to deal with, and masking them.
Oh, 100%.
And I was doing that for so long that I kind of forgot that I was even doing it.
Wow.
And it's amazing because it took me getting sober and then losing my mom and other family members, like for me to just be like, wow, I've never really processed, like I have nobody else. But I'm happy with I'm happy with the relationship that I got to build with them.
Of course.
But it just hurts that I hurt them for all those years, because like I was numbing myself and my feelings.
Yeah, of course.
But they had to watch it in a front row seat.
Yeah.
And live through it.
100%.
But yet I got to get high and do it and live it.
So what was the turning point? What was the point where you were like, you know what, no more, I want help. I can't fight this on my own?
The first time, actually, I had went to, and I knew like I had a problem. My husband at the time, had went to jail, and it was just a summer day. My oldest son, come in, and he was like, "Mom, do you want to go outside and ride the bike?" He had a little bike. He was still on training wheels, and I remember I was really dope sick that day, and I really felt like crap. I was going through withdrawals, and he looked at me, and I'll never forget. He was like, and I was like, Bob, you know, not right now. And he was like, oh, Mommy don't feel good today. Are you sick? And he was like, it's okay. And it just, it still to this day kind of breaks me because, you know, like he knew at that age something went right. And it just broke my heart. Like, so I went into treatment. It didn't last as long as I had hoped it would have.
Sure.
I went back to old friends, old hangout spots. Even started, you know, didn't even move out of the place that I was living, which really ended up being my enabling spot.
100%.
Like, I knew I could always go there and have money, drugs. You know, it was like the den.
Yeah, sure.
Home base.
Home base, yeah.
Home base. And so that, I didn't want to make those changes. And that's what I had to take.
Of course.
And I just wasn't willing, I guess, to give it. I wasn't willing to give it all then, like I needed to.
Sure.
I didn't see it. So this time when I relapsed, I was doing heroin, and then I had even started IV using.
Wow.
And I had swore I would never do that.
Wow.
That was just something I could never do, and I'm terrified of needles.
Of course.
Petrified.
Wow.
So I couldn't even do it myself. Like, I had to have somebody else do it for me.
Oh my goodness.
Talk about being in some situations with people, like, now that I look back, I'm like, wow, I put my life in their hands. Like, what if they could have hurt me on purpose? Like,
of course.
It's so scary. Like, the paranoia from that it's just kind of like, wow. The things that I put myself into, or the situations to get drugs or money, is like unbelievable.
100%, yeah.
And I didn't see it. I didn't know it.
Yeah.
I have people tell me things I did, and I'm like, no, like,
of course.
It's scary.
Yeah. It's so, you know, just to touch on how you talked about your son and how he looked at you in that moment and that feeling, you know, there's this big misconception, especially in the past, how morality is tied into addiction, right? Only bad people use drugs. Only, you know, good people would never do that, right? But to hear you talk about the way your son looked at you and how you felt that heartbreak, I mean, that immediately, to me, rules out that this is not a morality problem. It's something that is the drug problem that's just hijacking that person. Because people who say that, I mean, for a little, even in sickness, you can look at your son and say, I feel bad I let you down.
Right.
And, you know, the person I know you to be and how proud our facility is of you and to have you and just all the things that you've done and work alongside you with, it's really incredible, Stephanie, to see everything that you've gone through and just the role model you've become.
Thank you.
So when you went to that first facility, that was not with us, correct?
Correct.
That was with a different place.
Correct.
So how about the journey to our facility and just kind of the story behind that, what you experienced, what that was like?
So the facility that I went to, I started into, I was doing really good, a couple weeks, and then it got closed down. And there was hundreds of people just kind of dumped, like nowhere to go.
Wow, they didn't give you any kind of help finding another facility?
No. And it was like all of them that were local were all closed down, gone. And all these people had nowhere to go, no doctor, no help, no nothing. And I was scared. I was in the middle of a custody battle, and I was trying to get a job, trying to get my life to where it needed to be so I could get to a good point and do, you know, I wanted to be a better person for my kids, myself, you know what I mean? I needed it. I was tired, and just wore out.
Of course.
And so I knew that I needed to do this, and it was every speed bump in the road you can imagine seemed like it popped up. And so when it got closed down, somebody there had told me about this place, and I was like, well, I'm already on a list for a few other places, but they were months away. And I didn't have months.
Exactly.
I knew that just, a short span of time, a lot can happen.
100%.
And there were people overdosing left and right, and I didn't want to die, and I didn't want to throw everything back away that I was trying to, was trying to lead by example and do things the right way.
100%.
I knew I could have went out and probably bought them on the streets.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, that hasn't had to happen for some people, or, in certain situations, you do what you have to do to stay sober, like,
100%.
until you get in. But they answered the phone, and she told me that she could get me in that week. And I was like, wait, what? Like, everywhere else was months. And I was like, okay, like, all right. And so I was nervous because I was kind of like, this sounds too good to be true. Like,
of course.
How is it everywhere else is months away, but they're like, come on, we can get you in. And so I was nervous, and I was hoping that it was what I was looking for and needed, because I didn't want to hop from place to place to place.
100%.
And because that's scary when your sobriety reflects and depends on something, especially at the beginning.
Out of your control.
It's right. Like, you're at that point where if it goes wrong, it's easier to go back than it is to go forward.
Oh, yes.
And so I come in, and everything was different than what I was used to. So the first time went well, and I was kind of like, okay, like, all right, so this went great the first time, and then second time, and then, like, I was talking to some people, and they were like, yeah, I've been here for years. I was like, wait, what? Like, how? Like, I was surprised to hear, like, their relationships that had been rooted from here. And I was like, wow, that was so inspiring and hopeful that, this would be the permanent, because I knew that I could do it. I wanted to do it. I just needed a little boost to get started.
100%.
And so I was hoping, I needed it and I wanted it, but there was something that I needed help with and struggling. And so had it not been for you guys here, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have full custody of my kids. I wouldn't have my own home. I've gained everything back that I lost, plus some.
Oh, well, hey, we are humbled by that. But Stephanie, you did it. You're the one who took charge. You drove the vehicle, and we were just right beside you saying, hey, you got this. You can do this.
Absolutely. I mean, and like I said, it's not been easy.
Of course.
And there's been every bump in the road. And I struggle probably with patience. And it's only on little things.
Of course.
Like losing keys or, something like that. Like, it could be so much worse. But, and I have to, like, give myself a reality check or have my husband. He's such an awesome teammate, like, to have by my side. Like, he's been my number one support. And I don't know where I would be, because he was there, pushing me as well when I wanted to just give up. And I was like, and it's been challenging.
Of course.
But now I know if I go back, I'm going to lose so much more than what I lost before. But not only that, probably my life.
Of course.
I've lost so many people, loved ones.
Yeah.
Just from drugs alone. And it's scary. It's not like it used to be.
100%. 100%.
It's not. So when I started out, I had a backpack. We were living in a tent.
Wow.
In the forest.
Wow.
And so I had nothing but a couple clothes, a couple outfits, just a backpack.
Wow.
We were living in the forest. So crawled and edged our way from that to now. I have a car. I have two cars now. Wow. I'm now a proud owner of a mom van. I have a minivan now. So, and we have our own home.
Wow.
We don't have to worry and stress about paying, rent, being evicted.
Stability.
Yes, foundation. I have such a solid foundation, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Yeah.
So it's like whenever it does start tumbling at the top, like easy, like I've got, people and places that I can go or people I can talk to help me like start stacking my blocks back up, so
100%.
that way it doesn't crumble to the bottom. But yeah, so I've lost a lot, but I gained a lot more. Like I said, I have my home, my cars, my kids.
Definitely.
And I am grateful because in the beginning, they were my push to do this, because I knew that they needed somebody, because their biological father is still out in the world. And if I didn't step up 100%, who would have, who could have?
100%, yeah.
And it's scary to think where they might be if things wouldn't have worked out through here. Like I said, not only for myself, but where would they be?
Yeah, 100%. Everybody thinks that the only person who suffers is the person going through the addiction. And really it's quite the opposite. The person suffering, their children, their family, anyone associated with them is worrying, is dreaded by the thought of a phone call, maybe saying it's over, they passed away. And now, with all the drugs getting more and more dangerous with fentanyl, now we've got these new designer drugs that they're pressing to make look like normal drugs. You never know what you're going to get. There's statistics varying from 50 to 80% of all drugs can cause an overdose because of fentanyl is just, it's everywhere. It's sad. Something I want to touch on is how you talked about hope. Because this field, specifically, I feel like lacks hope. There's a lot of hope in medicine, period. That's, healthcare, I believe at the heart of it is hope, that a better future, a better tomorrow, a better treatment process. But in this field specifically, people still feel like there's very little hope. Now our clients, our clinicians here, because we are, in my eyes, the gold standard for, care, we install hope. And you can see it in clients as yourself, you're hopeful for the next step forward. If anything were to happen, we'd have your back no matter what. And, people watching this, people in the world at large, what message do you have for them if they're not clinging to hope? They can't see it. They're still using. They want to try recovery, but the stigma and the people pushing back against them saying it's not going to work. What message would you give to them?
You can't stop. Even in those moments where it seems like it would be so easy to give up, or you just say, I'm done, I want to throw the towel in, like there's no point, nobody cares. That's not true. That is not true. And there's people out there, that will help you, but you have to help yourself. And, I would love to do it. I'm sure we would all love to do it for them. Yeah. For lots of our loved ones, and people we care about. And you can't. You have to see yourself as so much more than what you think you are. Like your worth, your value. You're so much more than that drug, and so much more valuable. You're irreplaceable. Irreplaceable, and it's your life.
It's your life.
And people, you're loved.
So loved.
You're loved and cared about, and the drugs will make you think you're not.
Of course.
They blind people. And into consciously thinking like there's no way out, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't even realize that I was being that way. And I was blinded, but you have to, that, and hope, and, know there's better out there. There is better out there. You just got to keep going and push for it. Like, it's there.
Of course.
It's there.
100%.
It was there before the drugs. That person's still inside of you.
100%. So what how is your relationship with your son, to start it off, and your family at large? How has it changed, from when you were in the just using cycle to now in recovery and on your new journey?
It's amazing. They're awesome. I have 2 boys. One is 12. One will be 15 Friday.
Awesome.
Austin and Jerry, and my husband, we're all a tight family. Like, I mean, we're not just family, but like we have each other's backs. Like, yeah. So it's pretty awesome, the relationship that we have, and that we trust and build with each other in our home lifestyles. But I used to say that although I was there, I wasn't there.
Gotcha. Like,
my physical body may have been there, but mentally, like, there's a lot of stuff that I miss. I don't even remember. I missed out on of them growing up. Precious memories, and I have photos and stuff, but and not only that, but I'm sure there was a lot of things that maybe they missed out on. That although I can't go back and redo those, all I can do is make a better future.
Yes, 100%.
And with all of our relationships, like I said, I can't take back or anything that I had done in the past, but all I can do is try to make it better for their future and let them know, hey, I'm here. I love you. Like, and no matter what, like, I'm not, gonna go back, I'm not, this is, like, I'm done. Like, I want to lead by example for them.
I love it. Yes.
And that is a huge thing for me and my husband, like, is to try to lead by example, especially when you have teenagers.
Right.
Especially when you have teenagers. So we try to lead our lifestyle, in a positive way that we can. We're not perfect.
Of course.
Like, we're by far perfect, but just, for when it comes to things that, like, could get them, like breaking the law or something, like, they still say, yes, ma'am, no, sir, like, and it feels good when people tell me that my kids are good, that they enjoy having my kids over, like, whenever they call and are like, hey, can so-and-so come over, or, and people see them out, they tell me how good they are, and knowing what they came from.
Yeah.
And they were young, but they weren't real young. They were toddlers.
Yeah. Watching
their parents go through a full-blown drug addiction.
Of course.
So, and not only that, but the neighborhoods that they've grown up in, they see it daily. They've found syringes, at the bus stop, like, so they're living it in a different way now. Yeah. And the peer pressure, but so I try to lead it by a positive example on them.
100%,
to not fall into that.
Awesome. Now, last thing I want to touch on is Suboxone. Okay, so Suboxone, it gets a lot of blowback through time. We've seen it's getting more accepted. It's understood that this is a very amazing medication. Studies are coming out showing its amazing potential and what it does. What is your take on Suboxone and the stigma that it carries? If that stigma wasn't there, I fully believe more people would cling to it and look for it. But when people look into medications to take to get off of opioids, they see the stigma, they see the blowback that people who are just simply uneducated on the medication, they think they can insert their opinion and say, no, that's the same thing as street drugs. Can you give us kind of your thoughts on that, your perspective, how it's made you feel, how it's aided you in your journey?
Absolutely. When it first started out, it was one of those things that we had felt like we needed to hide because of the negative stigma of the trading one drug for another.
Of course.
People just automatically went into that, like, it is same thing as a pain pill. It's so going into that and not knowing a lot about it myself, never tried it. So, and then whenever I found out, like, okay, so it does, and then as you go on and you learn about it and see and feel what it does compared to their judgment was different. It's definitely not trading one drug for another, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't go kick someone's door in or rob someone's grandmother or, you know, like to feed my Suboxone habit. Like, I get, you know, like...
Yeah. Your treatment.
Right, right.
You know? That's what people tied to it. It's just like, oh
right,
my God, it's addiction to a medication, but it's just the medication you take that helps.
Right. As long as you are taking it as you are prescribed and you are doing this, what you are supposed to, but the medication is not the fix-all.
100%.
It's just a part of it. So, yeah, if you are going and getting them and you're not doing the other stuff and you're still failing drug screens and stuff, so maybe they are abusing it.
100%.
But when Suboxone is used correctly, it is a life-saving drug. And actually medication. It's a life-saving medication.
Yeah.
It saved my life. And so the stigma that is against it, I think that does cause a lot of people to feel like they can't get help from Suboxone because they would be judged on it. And that was, you know, for us as well, because you have to be careful, like telling, you know, someone when they ask, how long you been clean or how'd you do it? And then when you tell them Suboxone, and they're like, oh, well, wait, you know, so you're not really clean. And it's like, wait, yeah, I am. Like, you know, and then it's sad because I'll see that person a year later and sadly they've maybe relapsed and went back. But I just think it plants a great foundation base.
Fantastic, yes.
To start people out.
100%.
Getting them through that withdrawal and that mental
torture.
Yeah, like it didn't get there in one day and it doesn't go away in a day either. It takes time, but it does help people build themselves back up to a better them.
Definitely. I look at Suboxone like it's great at treating, you know, talking about the pyramid that you're talking about. You know, if you're sick, if you're miserable, if you're craving, that's very hard to go to the next level of how's my family, how are my relationships, how's my job, what are my goals. You know, if you're sick, if you're sitting there shivering, you're not going to think of any of that, right? So the medication's able to treat that, take that away, and then with counseling, with a good care team, you can find out, you know, what turns your light switch on, what direction can we kind of say, okay, that's a good direction, head down, you're excited about it, let's get you down that one.
Right, absolutely, it is. It's quitting cold turkey. I mean, I was never able to do it.
Sure.
It never worked I never could do it.
Sure.
I never could once I started withdrawing really bad, like you said, you can't think about anything. Like and unless you've been there and experienced it, people that speak about it don't really know if they've never been there themselves.
100%.
So it's a little unfair, the negative stigma that was put out against it, but I think it is amazing when it's done as you and your doctor and your counselor, you know, you work through it and like you build a relationship 100%. and then it gets to the point where you're like, you know what, like I'm ready to step down, I'm ready to step off, like, and then you step off of it. But I hate it because there's so many people that could have, you know, had a great opportunity and they should try, you know.
I couldn't agree more.
It's
living in the year 2020, we've got overdose rates at an all-time high.
Yes.
People dying more and more, not even to using opiates, but using a different drug that's been contaminated with fentanyl. You know, the stigma, it is getting better. It is getting better, but, you know, we need support. You know, I want it to the point where a clinician hears Suboxone, they say, wow, awesome. How long have you been in recovery? Tell me about your life now.
Absolutely.
That's what I want to live in.
Right.
And, you know, people like you, you're storming the way, honestly, and you're doing an amazing job. And let's just end on, you know, the future of yourself and what you want to have in your life, the things that you're chasing, your goals, and what you're excited about.
All right. We were supposed to take our second vacation this year, but due to COVID, we had to step aside from that. But
Sure.
We got to take our first vacation to the beach last July.
Yeah.
So, and that was amazing to be able to take a vacation as a family.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
something that we never got to do.
Of course.
And it was awesome to be able to put money on a vacation rather than on a bag of dope, you know, like it. So that was awesome. And I just want to, while all this is going on, trying to find things to do with family. While still being safe is definitely a challenge right now. But yeah, we're hoping to get a bigger home.
Bigger home.
That's what we're saving for, and that's our goal. Is we need to upgrade our home. So that's our big goal that we're working on as a unit. But personally, I would like to work on my paranoia, and I need to grow more on that, I think. And there's some things I'm working on during this emotional part. Going through where I lost my mom, my brother, I've lost a lot of family members, and then I take care of my sister as well. So going forward, I'm hoping that we can go through and get through this and be able to go back to family gatherings. Like, that's what I want. I want to do as much as I can with family and friends while I can and enjoy it, while helping others, in whatever ways I can. If it's, however, grow, help everybody
grow, right? Grow. I know.
Grow.
It's people who overcome something like you have, the strength you gain from it, right? So many people look at drug addiction like, I'm addicted now, my life will never be better. But I've noticed that people who conquer addiction, people who are able to tell their brain and train their brain to get over such a feat, they're like the most high-level people I've ever met. They're like, look, you're like, I want to work on my paranoia, my patience.
Right.
That's a high-level thing to want to work on, right? Usually we're just worried about paying bills and doing all the basic stuff. So, you speak to a lot of people, and your story, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. You have no idea the ripple effect of this. Who knows who might watch this, who might tell themselves, I'm worth it. I've got love out there, I just need to find it.
Absolutely.
And
if I can ever be a help to anybody, hey, reach out to me. Like, I'm always up for a good chat or whatever. Like, if someone's going through something and I can, maybe give them some words of, my opinion and my advice. Like, I'm no specialist, but I've been there. I've been through some stuff.
And that is a specialist.
Like, so even if you need to vent, like, hit me up, like, reach out to somebody.
Yeah, 100%.